Available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from AlJazeera English. See the world in real time. AlJazeera Mobile.
The times change. The instruments evolve. The battlegrounds shift.
This is America! Our country!
But the international struggle continues.
He was murdered!
Uncompromising, hard-hitting investigations.
I can't get no justice from no one in Jamaica.
People and power, at this time on Al Jazeera.
He's taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news.
If the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
To those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines.
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
يخلي لي اياكي يا امي يخلي لي اياكي
انا صوتك سمعته ولا سمعتك شو حاسه فيها يا عمري انت
الكل عم يسلموا عليكي وبيعيروكي يا امي
There are no people in the world wish their mothers a happy Mother's Day the way we do. Nobody but us. I don't think anybody in this world lives the same way we do.
They call this place the Shouting Valley, a remote spot in the Golan Heights, where Syrians go to see their family and friends across the divide. From the Syrian side, they look across the valley to the Israeli-occupied part of the Golan Heights. Separating the two sides is a fence, coils of razor wire, and a minefield, symbols of the continued political hostility between Syria and Israel. Israel captured the Golan Heights during the Six-Day War in 1967. Most of the Syrian inhabitants fled or were driven from their homes when Israeli forces swept through the hills. Over 100 Syrian villages were razed to the ground and cleared without trace. Only 5 villages remain to this day, with some 20,000 Syrian Arab inhabitants. Across the valley, families and friends, separated since 1967, can shout and wave at each other, so close and yet so far. Nowadays, the telephone can take the place of the megaphone.
الو ايوه هلا هلا مساء الخير كيفك يا بنتي يا ربيع كيفك الحمد لله
كيف صحتك مشتاقت لك كثير
Rabia Monza, in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, can telephone her father, who lives in the Syrian capital, Damascus.
كلهم بخير يا بيي بيسلموا عليك
كيف امي منيحه كيف صحتها طمني شو مساعيكم مشان
Ghaleb Monza was born in the Golan, but was in Damascus when the 1967 war broke out. He was never able to return home and was separated from his parents, who suddenly found themselves under Israeli control.
I used to stay at home in the Golan Heights and drive to Damascus in the morning, then go to work. That shows you how close it is. In 1967, my daughter Rabia was born.
Rabia was born and raised in Damascus, where she met her future husband Nasser. Nasser studied in Damascus, but had to return to the Golan after graduating. At first, he couldn't take his wife with him. 5 years passed before the Israeli authorities permitted Rabia to join her husband in the Golan. But it was a one-way ticket. Joining Nasser meant Rabia had to leave behind her mother and father on the Syrian side. she knew she would not be able to return. Rabia crossed over in 1987. The family caught the emotional crossing on video.
اجت الموافقة ورحنا في الحجز السوري، حجز الأمم المتحدة بعدين الحجز الإسرائيلي.
In 1987, Rabia got the permission to join her husband, who went to the border checkpoints. I entered the UN checkpoint with my daughter, with my wife and my nieces.
وبنات أخي اثنين يعني أخته للعريس بنت عمي الثاني.
The groom came by himself. They just wanted me to give him my daughter and leave. I refused. I requested for his parents to be with him, and they came.
الأماني قول دخلوهن اجوا. بنت أخي صار لها من سنة 67 وقبل مو شايفة أمها وأبوها. والمسافة بيننا وبين أمها وأبوها.
My niece had not seen her parents since 1967. She was standing only 6 meters away, but the soldiers didn't let her go to her parents. She fainted, she fell down.
ما بتقع بالأرض وقعت، يعني غط على قلبها ووقعت بالأرض، ما كانوا يخلوها تسلم على أهلها.
Rabia and Nasser now have a family of their own. Although the barriers keep Rabia separated from her parents, on special occasions she arranges to see them across the shouting valley.
اجى ابني طبعا خلق ابني كمان اهلي ما عرفوش انه اجاني ولد لبعدين.
40 days after the birth of my son, I took him to the Crying Valley so my family could see him through binoculars.
خيي صغير.
My little brother told my mom that he wanted to eat carrots to have better vision so he could see me and my son better.
انه جزر انه بخليه يشوف.
مضت فترة من سنة 87 ل 97.
We didn't see our daughter and her family for 10 years, from 1987 to 1997.
The peace agreement between Israel and Jordan gave separated families from the Golan the opportunity to meet. Families from the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights could obtain special travel permits to go to Jordan, where they arranged to meet with family members coming from Syria. Rabia has vivid memories of the day she met her parents in Jordan.
ريحة أمي مشتاقة لها يعني مشتاقة لبيي مشتاقة لأمي مشتاقة لأخواتي يعني.
I miss my mom. I miss my dad. I miss their sense. It's been very difficult. That day in Jordan, I didn't want to sleep because if I slept, I will not see my family. I just wanted to keep seeing them. Sleeping wasn't important. I wanted to see them by me all the time. I wanted to kiss and smell my mom's hands. Even my dialect, even that has been changed. My sisters tell me that. You even feel like a stranger within your own family.
Rabia's story is typical of the separation and sadness experienced by many Syrian Arab families divided by the front line in the Golan Heights.
I want to go home. I want to go to my house in Damascus to see my room, my neighborhood, my friends. On Mother's Day, it's my right as a human being to be able to see my mom, to even just wish her Happy Mother's Day.
هي صار لك 20 سنة غايبة عن البيت ما دعستي برجعتي عليه. بنتنغص نحن واخواتك بكل شيء بأكلي بشربي بقعدي بالفرح بالكره بنتنغص تكوني بيننا يا أمي. أمه ماسكة منار عيد الأم بيمرق خاصة. نقصك بيدي علينا وعليكم والعيد الأعياد بتمرق والمناسبات كمان نفس الشيء يا أمي. إن شاء الله نشوفكم بخير.
ما فيش منطقة بكل دول العالم بكل دول العالم.
There's no place in the whole world like the Golan Heights.
يعني ببرلين حائط برلين ودمر والعائلات.
Even in Berlin, the wall was brought down and families were reunited again. What would happen to Israel if they just opened this checkpoint? If they just open it and allow us to visit our families? How is that going to affect their security, me seeing my family?
الله يعطيكم العافية، كيف الصحة شلونكم؟
Rabia also speaks across the front line to her uncle, Hamid al-Halabi. Like Rabia's father, Hamid was also stranded in Damascus in 1967, unable to return to his home and family in the Golan Heights. Hamid went on to become a presenter on Syrian TV.
طلبتنا وأهلنا الأحباء في جولاننا الحبيب وفي أراضينا العربية المحتلة.
In 1975, Hamid was granted permission by the Israelis to meet his parents at the UN-monitored checkpoint, which separates the Israeli and Syrian sides of the Golan. Hamid still recalls how a UN soldier seized the film from his camera after he took a photograph with his mother.
I said, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that?" He said the other side told us that photographing is forbidden. I said to him, "Why can't I take a picture with my mother? What will it do to the security of Israel if I take a picture with my mother?" That's it. I don't have a picture with my mother. And to make things worse, 8 years later she died, and I have no picture of her. I'm a 60-year-old man. I have grown-up children, and I still cry when I remember that incident. She's my mother.
Life goes on for the Syrian community in the Israeli-occupied side of the Golan Heights. Youssef Abu Jabal spent 11 years in an Israeli prison with his father. They were charged with passing information to the Syrian side. Released in a prisoner of war exchange with Syria, Youssef was allowed to stay in the Golan, while his father was sent to Damascus. Separated by the barricades, they have not seen each other for 22 years.
I have been very sick for the last 5 years. I don't know how long I would live. I only want to see the soil of the Golan and all the people of the Golan Heights.
If I go there, I am going to visit my family, to be with my mother, to be with my father. Especially if most of them, the old people like my father, to stay beside him, to say a good word to him, to touch him. Look, it's very difficult. We feel here in the area, we feel that the Israeli authorities have no, it cannot understand the real human feelings. They cannot.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
Information travels in many ways. Opinions constantly formed. Knowledge passes in an instant.
If you want to communicate with those shaping the headlines, this is your chance to ask questions directly to the people making the news. Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
The lives that go unnoticed. The reality of addiction. The truth that is ignored. Stories of inspiration. 101 East brings you the lives of the people of Asia and how their stories shape the future of the region. 101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.